Hello there, I'm Geraldine Doogue. Welcome. It's estimated that more than 200,000 Australians are affected by hepatitis B. So with me now are members of the Hepatitis B Positive Speakers Group to discuss their stories, and I'm delighted to welcome them. Yvonne, Lynn, David and Trevor. Welcome. Lovely to have you all here. Maybe we could even talk about your own experiences with doctors in the medical profession. So, to you first, Yvonne, what were your experiences when you first discovered you had Hep B?
When I first had the specialist appointment and then had a liver biopsy, and I heard the word, like, it was pretty bluntly delivered too, so that didn't help, but the doctor just said, oh, you've got cirrhosis, and that was basically a reality hit, you know, for the first time really. And after that I had a period of worry.
They knew about Hep B? You were sort of walking into people who were well informed?
Not at the beginning. The general practitioners didn't know much at all. I actually went on the internet first.
Did you?
And worked it all out myself, and then went to the doctors, yes.
That's quite
you know,
something.
I gave birth twice in Australia, and the kids are immunised and everything, but at that time it wasn't an issue. Talking about the mother's Hep B wasn't done.
No one raised it with you?
No.
What about your experience, David?
I was pretty lucky because my GP had just had a specialist in the region to school up the local GPs on hepatitis issues, and he somehow spotted it because I just thought I was tired and not feeling well and couldn't explain it. And he said, look, you know, I think we'll get you tested for hepatitis B. So that was 20-something years ago, so he was pretty much on the ball. If you've got faith in the health professionals, it helps an awful lot, yeah. And I've invariably had fabulous people.
And Trevor, what's your story?
Well, the important thing I've found is that you build up a circle and everyone is talking to everyone, so that if something is missed by one of the specialists, the other specialist will pick it up. And I've found to me, that's been the most important thing, that I've managed to build this group of specialists around me, that even if I don't pick up something, one of them will, and will let someone else know.
And do you rely on your own observations of yourself in order to prompt them, or how's it working?
Well, initially no one knew anything. So if you're going to see a doctor, you had to be able to say, well, look, this is what I've read, this is what I know. What do you think? Whereas now they can say, well, look, we know that this drug does this and this drug does that. Whereas before, they didn't know.
Well, listening to you all, you've all become extremely well informed. I would have thought about your body in general, that you know more than you could have imagined you'd know.
Only recently that I had another baby that I took a lot more interested in. I think that because my son also diagnosed with hepatitis B.
This is the son you had recently?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so, you know, the doctors, the GPs, some of the specialists I go to, they're very, how you say, understanding and being more aware.
If you needed to be referred on to a specialist, do they do that willingly and happily?
The specialist, I request myself to go.
I think doctors appreciate too that if the patients know quite a lot about it. My experience was that they were like listening to what I said because they could tell that I had informed myself.
Once you illustrate to them that you are taking an interest and you do know what you're talking about as a patient, you can see this change come over the way they treat you. It then becomes more of a conversation.
How do you monitor in an ongoing sense, clinically, your condition so that you do keep a good eye on it yourself? How would you say?
Before you need specialist attention, you just have a blood test at the GPs, like maybe every 6 months or every year at the beginning. Once you know your test results indicate that you need specialist care, you have your appointments there maybe every 3 or 6 months, and then they will decide whether or not you need treatment or not, which is antiviral treatment, which is now available and really effective at, you know, not curing Hep B, but controlling the virus.
And I mean, David, do you have to watch yourself?
Once you're under the care of someone that you're trusting, you just have to, they'll work out a regime for you. So you just have to make sure that you book those appointments. So that person might say you need 6 monthly bloods and 6 monthly ultrasounds or something. So my trick is you have a little book. You write it in there and each month you look at it and book what you need to book. Because otherwise you're thinking and wondering about it all the time.
Right.
You know. And
So you set up your system and then you don't...
and then you forget it and live life and then, you know, just go to your booking.
You have to be aware of when you're taking your medication and what you're taking it with. Don't become obsessive about it, because once you do that, it starts to take over your life.
Yeah.
Now, Tina, you don't want to be seen because of the degree of difficulty in your community and your family, which is really pertinent to this whole discussion. How did your family react when you discovered you were Hep B positive?
Well, I was diagnosed with Hep B when I was a teenager. In the family, we tend to keep it to ourselves. So we never really have an open discussion about this disease. When Mum found out about her hepatitis B, she was devastated. And she suffered from depression for some time after that.
So what about your own understanding of Hep B, how you got it and whether you're liable to hand it on? I mean, how's that played out in your life?
It never really bothered me until an incident happened with my son, where the health professionals at the hospital forgot to give him the immunoglobulin treatment at birth, within 72 hours of birth. And that's where, yeah, I have taken more interest in hepatitis B.
And what about the relationship between you and your mother? Like, how has she borne that sense that she passed it on to you?
She had felt guilty for a while about, you know, her status of Hep B and having passed that on to me and my sister. But I think she's doing okay now.
Does she have any other women of her age? I'm asking you the same question, I suppose, in your community who she could share this with?
I don't think so.
Oh. That's tough, isn't it?
Yeah. And the stigma is very powerful within the family and within the community. It's a silent disease. We never really talk about it at all, except that she regularly gets me to go to GP and have my liver tested.
And Trevor?
My parents were very supportive, and to this day. The problem you tend to have is they keep asking you about your results, and how do you try to explain results simply without getting into too much detail?
Because I didn't know, or still don't know, how I got this. I never had this, like, any maybe guilty feelings about something. It was something I did. I think it might have affected my relationship with my parents. I think that now, at the time I was just being a difficult teenager, but my online support group that I still had and never stopped being part of, you know, made some cyber friends there as well. And it's not just about information and research and things, it's really emotional support as well for everybody.
Let me ask all of you about whether you specifically, do you think, suffered discrimination in your community?
This is one of the diseases that is least spoken about, so people who are not very well informed. It's like we know that the society poses the stigma around this disease, so within ourselves, before I even tell you that I have B positive, I impose a stigma within myself.
Lynn?
It's not so much what being said, it's how you're being looked at. I think for such a long time, I don't really talk about Hep B. as such. I think I just don't like the way that people looked at me.
So there was a judgment in there, was there?
Yeah, it was a judgment, and I didn't like it. And most of my part of my life, I don't let happy defines me. I don't allow other people to define me. So that's the way I looked at it. And it took me a long time to get here.
To get to this point of
where I don't
acceptance, really.
Acceptance and don't have to justify myself.
Occasionally you just get that feeling that something's not being said, and it's something that makes you feel that bit uneasy, but you can't put your finger on it.
Does that ring true to you, David, or not?
There's the discrimination you know about and the discrimination you may not know about. We were talking before that perhaps, you know, you could miss a job or something because somebody knows that you're Hep B positive or something like that.
Let's talk about all of your decisions to join the community awareness program, because that's another real step, isn't it? I detect. Why did you do that?
The huge part of it, I did it because for my little boy. And I think that I hope to see that when he get to my age, all of this will be gone.
So it's like a long-term investment, really, in openness.
Yeah, I don't really see it in another way.
I just feel lucky that I've come through it to this stage, and I just feel as though it's a bit of a cliche, but it's giving something back. I feel as though a lot of people have helped me to stay alive and live a good life, and then if I can help somebody else who's at an earlier stage, then that's worthwhile.
Do you like speaking about it to others?
I found that when I actually speak about it, it normalises the experience that I have with Hep B.
So what's the most important message you'd really like to leave people with, Yvonne?
For my case, I would have to say it's don't wait. Go get tested if you think, if you either have been diagnosed a long time ago or think you might be at risk for this. It can really have a bad outcome if you do wait too long.
Denial is not advised.
Not a good thing, no, not in this case.
David?
If you think you might be at risk, get vaccinated and then get tested to make sure the vaccination has taken. If you have the disease, don't give up, because there probably will be bleak periods, but you'll come through it. Don't give up.
And you're a living, breathing example of just that.
We all are, aren't we? Yeah.
Trevor?
You're not alone, and be willing to reach out and get help and support, because it is there, and we're living proof of it.
Well, look, I want to thank you all very much. It's been a fabulous conversation. I've learned a lot, and I think you've all been very courageous, and given that it affects so many Australians, it's just wonderful that you all tell your stories. So thank you very much for a lovely lunch. Now it's up to us to make a difference. To share in this community awareness program, I invite you to go to www.hepatitisaustralia.com and follow the links. Thanks for your time. Bye-bye.